Hey guys, Ron here, and for almost 2 years now, I've been making videos where I turn video game characters into Pokemon. Eventually I turned anime protagonists into Pokemon. Recently I've been turning memes into Pokemon. So why in the world did it take me this long to finally turn regular old cartoon characters into Pokemon? Some of your favorite Western animation mascots are actually perfect as inspirations for this series. After all, my love of animation is the reason I'm even an artist. Considering animation was my career choice before my channel became an option, this kind of video would be a perfect combination of my absolute favorite interests. So please, if you enjoyed this video and want it to become a series, leave a like and subscribe, because it's genuinely what I was born to do. Western animation doesn't need any introduction. But let me introduce you to Whatnot. Whatnot is an app where streamers host live auctions selling electronics, sneakers, plushes, comics, cards, and more. Kinda like eBay, but you get to see what you're purchasing from an entertaining live stream the seller hosts. At any time, you can log on to Whatnot and watch some streams where verified sellers are showcasing merch for you to cop, like manga, cartoon memorabilia, figures, and of course, since Pokemon is literally the highest grossing media franchise of all time, plenty of Pokemon merch. It's a great way to auction off your art, posters, or Pokemon cards. In fact, I'll be going live on Whatnot on Saturday, August 19th at 2 p.m. Eastern to directly auction off a ton of pristine Pokemon cards and merch. Not only will you be able to participate in some free giveaways of items like these stellar character posters and iconic figures, but I'm also giving each and every one of you $10 in credit to spend on anything you like. You can use the free $10 in my stream or in the thousands of other streams going on 24/7. Just go to the description or pinned comment to use my special link to sign up and bookmark my show before the stream. Make sure to mark your calendars now and follow me on Twitter just in case in order to know when we're live. Hey, I'll even sign some stuff if you want, as long as I see you there. So thank you Whatnot for this brilliant opportunity and sponsorship. So let's begin by looking at the biggest modern cartoon mascot of them all, SpongeBob. Nickelodeon's bread and butter, and probably the single television show with the most memes. Like, I quote SpongeBob more than literally anything. I don't know if that's just the thing that people my age do. Let me know if you're like younger than 20 and you do that, because I constantly quote SpongeBob. But the question is, how do we turn SpongeBob into a Fakemon? Are we going to base it on a kitchen sponge, since that's where SpongeBob gets his square pants from, or more of a natural sea sponge, which is what he literally is, considering his parents look like living sponges? It'll be a cross of both, I think. The real problem is that SpongeBob is extremely cartoony though, and my job is to make it look way less Western. That's the problem we'll have with all the Pokemon in this video. When I was making my anime-based Fakemon, I took Japanese designs and turned them into Japanese monsters that already fit into the anime art style, while cartoon characters like SpongeBob have features that rarely exist in Pokemon, like overlapping eyes, not to mention buck teeth. But we won't get closer to figuring out the solution by just standing here, so let's begin. I'm making a relatively natural-looking sponge that I'm slowly shaping into something relatively square-shaped, at the top at least. The sponge is sprouting from a rock on the bottom that I will make look like SpongeBob's clothes. Instead of a thin, noodly limbs, he'll have short rock nubs that he uses to get around. The hard part will be translating the extremely cartoony and Western eyes of SpongeBob into Pokemon's more anime art style. What's even harder is the fact that I don't think a sponge would have uniform round eyes like this in the Pokemon world, but we'll refine it as we go. I gave it a piece of seaweed on its front to resemble SpongeBob's tie, and some rocky patterns that resemble his belt and shirt. Once I added his large pores, I very much decided it makes no sense for his eyes to be that round and symmetrical, so I made them the same random shapes as the pores, with a more appropriate and goofy mouth. Its teeth are actually two pieces of rocks. Pebbles, I guess. Before it looked cute, now it actually has a similar energy to SpongeBob. Just refining it a bit and giving it more dimension before adding SpongeBob's colors. What an inviting and familiar color palette. Anybody would recognize it. Are you ready for Spongeoy, the porous Pokemon, a water rock type? These extremely friendly Pokemon find shelter within drowned tropical fruit under the sea. They are constantly eager and positive. They slowly walk their way up to the beach to greet other Pokemon while laughing. Spongeoy can instantly absorb any liquid that it comes in contact with. When playing, it will gently release bubbles from its pores. In battle, it releases a constant jet of pressurized water. Spongeoy's soft face can take a beating. It bounces back from a hit in an instant. Spongeoy shrivel up and become brittle when the sun is unobscured. They look for shade at noon. When Spongeoy run out of water, it makes its way back to the sea. Spongeoy sees the good in everyone. They are often too naive for their own good though. They have the abilities Water Absorb, Regenerator, and Unaware. They're shiny as a reference to Patrick. I thought it would be tough to design a Pokemon like this. While the face was difficult to get somewhat right, the shape wasn't a problem at all. It definitely has the aura of SpongeBob. Next is the most recognizable cartoon character of all time, Mickey Mouse. While people know of Mickey, he's not the most beloved cartoon mascot. It's kind of like Superman. Everybody knows Superman, but he isn't the most popular superhero in modern times, at least. So let's give Mickey a slight boost in appeal by making him a Pokemon. Now, the first style of animation in America was rubber hose, where the limbs of the animated characters would move in a curve, all floppy and stretchy like a rubber hose. Disney employed this style as well, so why not make a bendy and stretchy little mouse? How does he stretch? Well, his body will have the properties of ink. Just a nimble little rodent that is constantly fluid. It'll bring back the charm of 1920s animation where every character was in a constant state of flux. I'm starting with circles and some more circles. Instead of arms, the dude will have long ink legs that he stretches. Now, I don't want to give it Mickey's literal snout. It will already look enough like Mickey once the ears are added, so a short button nose is fine, with the iconic eyes, an ink tail that looks kind of like a brush, and the most recognizable ears in history. Keep in mind that they are actually going to be spherical and not flat, since they are droplets of ink, big orbs that bounce around as he walks. This also makes it so that this Pokemon has the famous illusion where Mickey's ears are in the same configuration no matter the angle. Cute smile and a more refined body. It's not fully black and white. It'll have the golden age face with the modern color schemes. Here is Mousebloch, the ink Pokemon, a poison normal type. Mousebloch run around leaving a trail of ink footprints. They are able to extend their tail and legs to triple their usual length, allowing them to jump high, run fast, and grab objects. Their body has the properties of a liquid. Mousebloch is able to fit into cracks the size of their tiny eye. They can redirect attacks with their fluid body. They are nigh impossible to grab because they slip through fingers with ease. This cheery Pokemon likes to entertain. It dances and creates art. When its efforts aren't rewarded, they steal a possession or two. Mousebloch attacks by shooting inks from its ears. To finish off a foe, it will kick with enough force to launch a blinding streak of ink. This messy Pokemon is a nuisance to find in your home. They generally avoid water. It has the abilities Liquid Ooze, Pickpocket, and Contrary. Its shiny is self-evident. This is incredibly cute. It's technically not the first Disney mouse I made on this channel. A while back I turned Sora from Kingdom Hearts into a mouse with a key, inspired by Mickey Mouse, so I wanted to make sure to not insert any Kingdom Hearts references into this design. It's a very delightful guy. Now it's time for the protagonist of not only my favorite animated series of all time, but my favorite show ever. Aang, the Avatar, and the Last Airbender. As an airbending master, our Fakemon will also be able to control the wind. As a monk, he'll be very free-spirited and carefree. And as a Pokemon based on the Avatar, he'll probably be able to access tons of ground, rock, water, ice, fire, definitely fire, electric and flying type moves. I mean, we could technically throw in other types like grass into there, but that's not necessary. Since the Avatar is both the bridge between the human and spirit worlds, but also technically a reincarnation of the light spirit Rava, I originally thought the ghost type would translate well, but making our Pokemon a fairy type seems more appropriate to represent Avatar powers. I'm gonna make a flying fairy mythical Pokemon that heavily translates Aang's appearance. The face for now is of a bald little man with a pattern that resembles an arrow. Keep in mind, it's not a literal arrow tattoo. I want this thing to look more special than the average Pokemon at least, so these Mew-like evolution eyes will do the job. I want to give the impression that this guy is light as a feather with his pose, although that'll change by the end. I'm giving him Aang's Air Nomad drip, but changed up the pose so he looks more like a fairy, just your average twinkle toes. Throughout the design process, I'm trying to give this dude ears so it doesn't just look like a literal human monk. It's giving Krillin right now, when I really wanted to try to give him some flying lemur attributes, but Momo ears would ruin the bald silhouette. Originally I gave him this halo-like antenna, and that also looks like a swirling wind, and I do want to add spiral motifs throughout. I kinda overdid it though. The final design will have a bit less spirals. After refining it, I thought the shape of its head was too plain. That's when I added these ears and finally decided to make it a monkey with a swirling tail. This also allowed me to add an appropriate amount of cream color when I was adding Aang's color palette. The colors actually fit beautifully. Check out Monkair, the carefree Pokemon. Monkair has been discovered after disappearing for 100 years. They are kind, caring, and love to play. They can control wind, allowing them to create balls of air that they ride around on. They can ascend into the sky using a blast of wind and glide down with their loose cape. They create tornadoes by twirling their tails. Monkair is light on its feet. In battle, it avoids its opponent's every hit. It does not like to strike back, but when its HP goes down to half, its ability, Spirit State, will activate. Now its inner spirit fights, unleashing this Pokemon's true potential. In its Spirit State, the power of water, ice, ground, rock, fire, electric, flying, and fairy moves are doubled. It's a master of the elements. It communes with the spirits and is feared by humans. Monkair does not enjoy the immense amount of power it possesses. It simply wants to live a life of fun. Monkair Shiny is referenced to Season 3's headband and Aang with his Kuzan drip. The name ended up being perfect for this Pokemon. I can't believe I never associated the fact that Aang is a monk and that kind of sounds like monkey, but also the fact that lemurs and monkeys are both primates. So in the end, I did end up with my idea to combine Aang with Momo. I love the colors and patterns on this mon too. And finally, what would a video about cartoons be without some Looney Tunes representation? Bugs Bunny, the wise rabbit that messes with those who dare mess with him. Okay, that sounds a bit ominous. The point is, the dude isn't really a prankster. He just wants to live in peace and harmony, and only retaliates when others encroach on his life. Now, clearly Bugs is the easiest to translate into a Pokemon, since he's already a rabbit, but I can't make him look too much like a literal Bugs Bunny. And on the other side, I can't make him look just like a random rabbit. Bugs is famous for munching on a carrot, all Clark Gable style. I mean, Bugs Bunny literally created the myth that rabbits nosh on carrots. It's true. So we have to incorporate that into the design and make our rabbit Fakemon a grass type that carries a huge, large carrot that it fights with. Hopefully we can translate the Bugs Bunny personality into our Fakemon as well. It's the reason Bugs is so beloved in the first place. I started by literally drawing Bugs Bunny. We'll constantly change the proportions so it slowly becomes a Pokemon with Bugs Bunny features. Simplifying the cheeks is first, but the expression is too human. That's why I gave him rabbit eyes and opted for a way smaller body. Like, the body isn't close to Bugs Bunny's lanky limbs, but the pose and expression sure is, which helps tie it all together. Dude is leaning on a giant carrot it uses as a cane and baseball bat, just adding this subtle leaf color to make it look more gentlemanly, but also clearly grass type. Same with the patterns. Almost looks like corn. It's giving me corn vibes, which is good. It should look like he lives on a farm. Leaf-like ears and tail, and then a greener version of Bugs Bunny's color palette with a hint of orange instead of pink that is honestly pretty aesthetic looking. I'm a fan of green and white with orange accents. Check out Harriet, the wise Pokemon, a grass type. Harriet live in spacious holes that they dig using their carrot tools. Harriets are incredibly intelligent, able to fashion all sorts of inventions using their fruits and vegetables that they cultivate. They live peaceful lives and only fight back when provoked. They rarely use their actual abilities in combat though, and would rather outwit opponents, making their own moves backfire. When backed into a corner, Harriet will sprout a giant carrot from the ground and beat their foe with it. Harriet's signature move, Carrot Swing, is a physical grass-type move with 110 base power and 100 accuracy, but its power is halved when used in succession. It has the abilities Analytic, Cheek Pouch, and Contrary. I don't know if I really like this one because it's green or because I'm genuinely proud of its design. It's the right balance of clearly being Bugs Bunny, but having none of the proportions of Bugs Bunny, who has way longer limbs, bigger head, completely different eyes, cheeks, and color scheme, but it works. If you think the entire video works, leave a like and subscribe if you want to see a part 2. Let me know in the comments which cartoon character you want to see Pokemonized next, and make sure to check the description for the music I use, the t-shirts I made for you guys, and my Patreon where you can get cool rewards like seeing my videos days early, which you can also do by clicking the join button and becoming a member. Make sure to follow me on Twitter where I show sneak peeks of these designs too. I'll see you guys very soon.